Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the April Lewis Experience, where I help you clear your mind so you can crush your goals. And today's guest is the epitome of crushing your goals, Mr. Frank Kitchen, who first, can I just say, of all the virtual backgrounds that I have been forced to look at over the last year and 2 months, yours is the best. You don't have this weird thing around you. It's not going in and out. And I love it. So, Frank, how are you, my friend?
Miss April, I am doing amazing. Get a chance to hang out with you today, so you know I'm doing great. But thank you for having me on and being part of your show.
Absolutely. So before we go into it, please give us tips on how, because some people watching this do have a virtual background. I personally don't like them because my teeth were showing up like, because they're white and it was blending in and it got weird. So how did you get your background so perfect?
One of the first things for like any virtual background is just going to be the lighting. So I've got lights here in this home studio that's going to give me good lighting. And then the other one is just when you pick the background, you have to make sure the background mimics the lighting that you have. A lot of people are getting these backgrounds where the lighting is different than what they have. So I went on to this right here, just found somebody here in Fiverr. They gave me a couple samples. This is one that I picked out. And then people like yourself said, "Hey, Frank, I really like that." So when I'm on interviews, I'm doing some coaching, I usually tend to pick out this backdrop, and it just works out good.
I love it. I love it. And I've always like your branding and your color. And I'm so grateful that you came today. First off, you're making history because you're the first male that I've had on the April Lewis Experience. So I know I got to get confetti because there are so many moments where I want to just throw confetti. And it was prompted from something that everybody can relate to from social media. I put up a oh yes, see, party hat. I put up look, you got me saying celebration. I put up the announcement for a previous interview that I did with Ebony Hamlet. Everyone go watch it because it was epic. And you chimed in and said, basically offered up to join. And I was like, let's do it. Because one of the things about creating this experience for people is that we all are coming along and have came along our path in a multitude of ways. And so when the viewers watch and listen and they see different perspectives, my goal is that they are able to turn something in their head to one, know that they got this, that they can do anything that they desire to do if they get their mind right. And your story is just that in a nutshell. And I want to start from when we first met. We met through AJ Adams, who's going to be the guest next week. So be sure to tune into that interview because it is powerful. You and AJ are friends in Arizona. I met AJ through after sharing the stage with Les Brown. AJ was on a follow-up event. He and I met. I liked the way he talked. And then he connected you and I. And our first conversation, Frank, was when I was still working corporate. I was sitting in my office, door closed, and you were just feeding me so much inspiration and knowledge on taking the leap. So I have to start there. Please take us on the journey of how you got to the place of being a successful full-time entrepreneur.
Okay, well, the first step was, and I didn't do it the right way, was I shared with people was the way I started out being an entrepreneur was I got fired. I mean, that's the pure simple point was I got fired. I had been talking about it, but I shared with people like the more you talk about the dream, the further away you get. And I talked about being an entrepreneur, but I was still working the 9 to 5. And quite simply, the 9 to 5 said, "Hey, this isn't working." And they gave me my walking papers in a Panera bread company, a restaurant. And it was Father's Day weekend. And the short story is my wife was 7 months pregnant. We had a 2-year-old. It's Father's Day weekend and I got fired. And we had to go see my wife's dad that weekend, her dad and mom for Father's Day weekend to celebrate with them. And part of the celebration was saying, "Hey, guess what? I have no job." I mean, that's how I started out as an entrepreneur. But my father-in-law, my friend, my network, they all said, "Hey, Frank, you know what? We got your back. You got this. What do you want to do?" I was like, I really need to, push this professional speaking. But I was like, I got to stop. I watch my language on your shows. Like, I got to stop half-assing it. I was like, I got to put full effort into it. And that was the point that got me. And that's a little over 6 years ago, or almost 6 years ago. So just put that full effort in and said, okay, this is what I want to do. Let me put the work in and let me humble myself and not try to do it myself and find myself the right people to surround myself with to make sure I can make it happen. And you're one of those people.
Oh, bless you. Let's go back to what you said. If you keep talking about it, you're pushing yourself further away. Tell us what you mean by that, because a lot of people do a lot of talking and lip service, and I'm about to, and I need to, and I'm fit and all the things. But you're saying the talking is getting you further away. How so?
Well, if we're talking, we're not taking any action. All we're doing is talking about it. And we know talk is, it's somewhat of some action. When I work with people, I said, we're not remembered by what we think or what we say, it's about how we live. So if you're talking it, that means you're not living it. So I had talked about being an entrepreneur. I had talked about being a speaker, but I wasn't, combining it with the necessary actions to make it into a reality. So the more I talked about it, the further away it got. When I decided to start taking action and doing the necessary work each day, whether it meant studying, connecting with people, building a network, and applying, that's when it got closer. So the more we talk about it, the further away it gets.
So one of the things that I like to share, because a lot of people that pay attention to me, they're still working their 9 to 5, but they know that God has something bigger for them. They know there is something else that they're called to do, or there's something else that they absolutely want to do. And they look at the number one reason, and it's the money. When I left corporate, the environment that I was working in, the work was heart, like it was everything aligned with my heart, but the environment wasn't aligned with my truth. And so when God spoke to me on leap day of last year and said it was time, I just took the walk, and I break up my story through several different occasions. So I won't take up the time with you now to talk about it, but it was very interesting because it was right before COVID, and every speaking engagement I had on the books got canceled. And before we went on the show, right, I was sharing with you that the first one that got canceled is now on for the end of the month. But for me, it was COVID and everything changed, and I had to put all my trust in God. For you, you pretty much had your back against the wall. You had a pregnant wife and you had a 2-year-old. What kept you going outside of money? But what did you do, and how did you do it to just not go back and get another job?
Well, the big piece is you said about God. And I said that year I had prayed to God, said, hey, I want to be a full-time business owner. And I told people, like, if you don't believe that God has a sense of humor, you can look at my story, other people's story, because we have to watch what we pray for and how we pray for it. I said, hey, I want to have another job when the time is right. And God knew I'd never jump out from that 9 to 5. So he had to push, some of us are stubborn. I mean, some of us just, want to go do our own thing. So it goes, hey, I know you've got the ability, but you're not applying yourself. So I got fired. And when I got put to that corner and I got hungry, that's when I started to go do the work. So sometimes we get too comfortable and, it doesn't work. So what happened was, once I did get fired, I had to follow scripture and go through the piece of which was, humble yourself. So I went and talked to the people in my church group and like, hey, I lost my job. I don't have a job. Do you have any ideas for me? And then I had to have a point of, having an actual point. I had to have an actual point with my talk with my father-in-law and have him come out and watch a speech. And he goes, you know what? This is what you're born to do. So the case was I had to, not be prideful to the point of, even some friends like, hey, Frank, friends are like, trust in God, trust in that network. This is your chance to actually, apply. This is your chance to be, the leader and just, walk through. A couple said, hey, think about how some of the different disciples had to be, humbled. And I'm like, wow. So just, it all hit there. And it's like, okay. And I said, I talked to my wife, like, give me 1 year. I was like, I have not put full effort in. It's like, give me 1 year. If it doesn't work after 1 year, it's not meant to be. So that's what the piece with the 9 to 5. And like you said about even the job, I've been talking to people. So now I got to practice what I preach. And I go, even if I was going to go look for another job or whatever, I go, it's like at the earliest, I was like, I may be 6 to 8 weeks from a check. So what am I going to do with that 6 to 8 weeks in between? I was like, I'm not going to get anything. So I'm like, I got a chance to speak. So I talked to friends and, I don't lie about it. It's like my one friend, he's a deacon for his church. And I found out, it's kind of funny to find out that, the deacon's doing this. He goes, Frank, I drive for Uber. So I started driving for Uber. I didn't have to worry about a boss, so I started, to drive the car, but I also reached out to my network who I didn't reach out to before. And within like the first 2 weeks, I booked a week's worth of speaking. Because now I wasn't trying to serve two masters now. So the case was, God knew I had the ability. He knew I could do it, but some of us will listen and some of us are hard-headed knuckleheads, and it takes a while for us to listen. And at that point, I was ready to listen and to follow.
Oh, Frank, you are speaking to my soul right now. And we'll talk about it off camera, but I am so in that place of where, in entrepreneurship, there is ebbs and flows, there are highs and lows, and it is very interesting. But the one thing that we know is we're doing what God created us to do. And so you have to link arms with people that can remind you of that, share that vision with you, cheer you on, and that you can be vulnerable with to say, okay, I need some help.
Yeah. I mean,
You
it's
told
crazy
me.
because, yeah, it is. I mean, my father-in-law, he had never seen me speak live, and I set up a showcase that weekend. So talk about, it's like right place, right time. So it's all meant to happen. So I went to go speak at the showcase. My wife goes, you know what? Take my dad with you. So he'd known me for years, but he had never seen me speak live. At the end, we came back to his house and he goes, this is what you were born to do. He goes, whatever we can do to help you. So, they helped out with groceries and diapers and stuff like that. But he just goes, he saw it and believed in it. And like, so that settled my nerves there to go and do. And at the same point, I had two friends who were speakers who came back to the house that night. And we all sat out in the backyard in a thunderstorm talking about where we want to go be. One of the people is one of my really good friends now. And we actually work together as business partners and speakers. And this last year, like we've actually, because of collaboration, close out. I'm going to just tell it's like it's easily well over 5 figures worth of speaking work. Pushing
Nice.
like mid 5 figures, like going high just by working together. But that's somebody who I got aligned with that weekend, also, who's like a really good friend. So just everything came together, and it's just like my wife says is we have to be willing to listen and be in tune. We all these people we wait for the big booming voice for God, and someone told me it's like it's not always going to be a voice coming out of the sky. It's like it speaks through actions, through other people, and you have to be willing to listen.
Absolutely. So, Frank, I feel like everybody I bring on this show, I feel like I say this. We can talk 5 other times because there's so much content. But for the person that's watching this right now, and I'm all things. When you get your head in order, you have absolutely put yourself on the trajectory to get your life in order. What do you do on a regular basis to keep your mind strong and to keep your faith strong?
Yeah, the best way to keep the mind strong is to watch, and like we've heard all the different things about, your reflection of the people you surround yourself with. But the first one is just the network of people you have around you. I mean, I've gone back and reflected on when I've done my best and when I've done my worst. And my best is when I'm truly surround myself by people who are looking to go somewhere. Doesn't mean that these people are rich or anything like that. It's just a case of they have a clear goal and they do whatever they can to get there. So I realized I need to put myself around people like that. When I decided to put myself around people like that, then guess what? It's positively, and you're talking about COVID right now, it's positively contagious. Contagious can be positive and negative. So we always think about the negative contagion, like, oh, it's going to make me sick and go and do it. But guess what? There's certain people, the energy, the drive, the feelings, where when you're around it, you can't help but to be that way also. And you understand it because you play ball. So I used to go to the one spot to play on the courts. Everybody's like, Frank, why do you go there? You may not get on the court. That's how good they are. I'm like, yeah. It's like, but when I do get on, I'm like, I'm going to get better versus why do I just stay out here where I get on the court all the time and I'm the superstar? I got to put myself at the people who are a level above me. So that's the big one for me to stay positive is to work at people who are a level above me to keep me driving and keep me going forward.
Absolutely. Who was it? Jim Rohn. We are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time to. And it's honestly, your character, you should see yourself in the people around you. You shouldn't see who you used to be. You should see who you are now and who you aspire to be. And I remember when I first heard that quote and I looked at the 5 people that I was spending the most time with and I was communicating the most with on my phone, and I was embarrassed for myself. It had nothing to do with them. It was me. It's like, April, you can't say that you're this person and you feel this and you have these hopes and dreams, and yet the circle around you is a complete representation of the April you don't even want to be anymore. So that's when I had to shake it all up and hit reset.
Yeah. I mean, if I wanted to be a professional speaker and a business owner, I needed to hang out with professional speakers and business owners. So I got involved with several groups, several masterminds. People, like you said, you got AJ coming up next week. You've got our mutual friend, Danny Forts, who was hanging around, with him. And it's just, like I said, that stuff just started to flow with me. And then even today, it's kind of funny because I got a meeting to go to, but I got my Hustle Phoenix shirt. Hustle Phoenix is a nonprofit. It's, biblically based, but what we want to get underserved or underrepresented communities to get into entrepreneurship. So I sit on the board and I work and I volunteer. So now here I am with people who are working 2 and 3 jobs to try to start their business up. And I'm like, well, if they can do that and I'm here teaching classes and volunteering, why can't I do that? So once again, there's a group where they're not even, quote, full-time entrepreneurs yet, but that energy and that drive and that focus was, I need to feed off of that. And I need to learn from this group. So I was volunteering to help this group out. And I always tell the group now, I was like, I learned just as much as I give to you.
Yes.
Because once again, it's just the energy.
It's the energy, and give, and it shall be given unto you. That is a biblical principle that I stand behind. So Frank, before I let you go, I always like to ask my guests, what's their favorite saying? Because there's typically so much wisdom packed into that thing that they love to say. So what's your, and I know you have a ton of them, but what's your favorite saying you want to close out and share with our amazing guest today?
Okay, well, then I'll use one of mine that it's just right at the top of my head. I always will tell people to live fresh. And when I say live fresh, it means you're going to commit your time, your talent, your team, and your treasure to live your dreams while helping others live theirs. So the case is, don't talk about what you're going to do. Don't just think about it. You have to go out and live it. And don't just live it for yourself. We want to be these servant leaders. Make sure you're using your dream, your talent, your skill, your time to help out others also. When you do that, you will never fall flat on your face because you've got this extra motivation to do great. So that's what I like to share with people. And just got to say, April, thank you for having me out. Maybe we'll be back again because, you know, you and I could talk all the time.
All day long. God bless you. God keep you. Thank you for that. For those of you that's watching, live fresh. And oh my goodness, you absolutely get everything you want out of life when you help other people get everything they want out of life. So all of Frank's contact information is down in the comments below. Don't forget to click the like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you don't miss out on next week's episode or anything else that I put on the channel. Frank, you are amazing. I adore you. I appreciate you. I love you. And I will absolutely have you back on.
All right. I count on it right now. I'll see you soon.
All right, my friend. You all be well.